Very good morning to you. It's Jim from Avstar Observatory. I did that video yesterday just as an example. If you ask me, I think it's way too clinical. That is the sort of video I think that is going to encourage pacification. You know, anyone that's listening to it could listen to that a few times and still go about their daily lives whilst we're going through all these anomalies that is happening around our world. Just quite normally. I don't think they'd see any danger in the last 3 videos I've done that they would possibly think they faced. And that is why I like to spend a little bit more time, trying to come across quite literally as, first of all, knowledgeable about the topic. Hopefully a lot of you get it. We're not just out here trying to rip people off for the money. We're certainly not begging, which is what we get a lot of. And yesterday, when you're trying to do things in 4 minutes, it's you're going to miss out so much. And I like to do these videos like we're having the conversation, like I'm sitting next to you at the bus stop, in a queue somewhere, at the coffee shop. That's the way I prefer to do something. I think you get on that person's level a little bit more the more time that you spend with them. And I've got no apologies for doing 25-minute videos. What I'm trying to do is get a simple message across, one that is being taken for granted by even the very small amount of people, let's say 2% of the 8 billion people on this planet that are completely aware of what's going on, whilst the other 98% of the people are completely unaware. There's a couple of things I wanted to mention in this video. One is, when you're doing videos like we did yesterday, there is no time to thank people, literally, and I think that's very important. And that's why I start every video by saying thank you just to a couple of people. I think we had 4 people chip in a few bucks yesterday, and I am always grateful even for the small help that we get, and I think it's worth just mentioning those people at the beginning of every video. But when you're doing a video that covers 4 minutes, you've got a lot of information to try and cram in there in a concise way so it follows a particular pattern, and then you want to obviously have a conclusion at the end. I think it's impossible to fit in things that are more important, like thanking those few people that have took it upon themselves to step up to that line and take the effort, because let's face it, there's a link down there, but you have got to make the effort. As soon as you click that link, you can either make a donation by PayPal, or you can use your credit card or debit card. You've got to fill out that information. That does require an effort, and that is an effort that obviously the majority of our subscribers are not prepared to make, even if they can afford it. And I understand that also. And that's why I think it's important to not do 4-minute videos, because you have got to understand and express that understanding back to those people that can't afford to make a contribution because of their own dilemma in their lives. They simply can't afford it. I think it's really important to do videos occasionally like this, where you open the doors and you explain everything, openly. So I understand, that a lot of people are on the breadline. It's like someone said in the comment section, they are just about able to afford the mobile phone contract, which enables them to watch these videos. But there is no way on this earth I want people like that to, take the extra burden by chucking in some money to this observatory, because I think first and foremost those people need to cover their own backs first. First of all, strengthen your own unit, and then if you have the affordability, then you can extend that by other ways. I think what we fail to realise is that we're in this together. We will go through these anomalies together. In a couple of days we're going to do the positioning of the magnetic North Pole. This is the only observatory in the entire world, I'm not kidding you, that is giving you that information. You cannot get it anywhere else. And we have some really dedicated people on here. Robert, I read your emails, or I read them all the time, and I apologise for not replying to all of them. And it's like the comments, I apologise for not applying to all of them. You've got to realise, there are thousands of people every day, and sometimes in the comments section we can have as many as 400. It would take hours for me to reply to them all. I'd rather just in the video mention, thank you for making the comments. I've read I read most of the comments every day that we do videos, and sometimes it is a little bit of a push to reply to them all. I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from on that. But guys like Robert, if ever we had a board meeting, important people like Robert Watkins, I would have you on that board, because I totally appreciate your life experience and your knowledge on these subjects that we talk about here. And it's not just Robert, there are a few others that regularly send emails to me and keep me informed of other topics that I can't always afford to do the research on, but I trust, because of the level of quality of these emails and research that they've done, that they are very credible. And like I say, if there was ever a board meeting, I would have a certain few of you here on that board meeting to share the views and the navigation of where we're going with what we have tasked ourselves with here at the observatory. Because I know that some people appreciate fully the understanding of what we do and why we do it. We have taken it upon ourselves to pinpoint the location of the magnetic North Pole and cover now a decade's worth of research in this field alone. It is the primary topic of our channel here, and obviously the website. However, we do cover other important anomalies like keeping track of CO2, and you guys know why we do that, because it's important, because this is the blanket and the blindfold that they're pulling over our eyes on a daily basis, blaming CO2 on climate, when we know there are other anomalies that are affecting climate more than ever CO2 would. And I agree, in the comment section later on, some people are going to say, look, the only crime CO2 can be charged guilty with is being plant food. Absolutely, 100%, you are right. And I've demonstrated CO2 levels even right now with just me in this room, 9 meters by 4 meters. It's over 1,000 parts per million. You know what? It affects me in no way whatsoever. I could pump it up to 2,000 parts per million in this living room by having another 5 people in here. It would go over that, and it would not be harmful. If ever you do have the affordability of time and a little bit of cash, buy yourself a CO2 machine, get on a train and see what levels that CO2 increases to. During the pandemic, I suggested that the better way to monitor the levels of increased risk in catching, whatever, would be to monitor the CO2, because that measures respiration. We're all pumping out CO2 as we take in and out our breathing on a regular basis. And obviously if the CO2 is increasing, then the risk of catching something like that, either with the recent pandemic or the next pandemic, would be the perfect way of monitoring it. And this was something that wasn't even mentioned until a good 12 or 13 months after the initial outbreak. Can you believe that? In any case, we are faced with real situations, and on a regular basis I get asked, what the bloody hell can we do, Gene? Well, over the last few days I've been spelling it out very clearly. Over the last 6 months I've been spelling it out very clearly. We face a lot of issues which are going to affect cities. Cities are about to become unpopular places, regardless of how much value the properties cost within them. 40 years ago, cities were very appealing because they had all the amenities that you didn't have if you lived in rural areas, and most people did. So they're going to go offline, and I suggested that probably now you could get an head start on the other 98% of the people that are completely unaware of what is going on. Those are the people that are going to get caught with the pants down around their ankles. It's going to happen. Even the people that subscribe to us on a regular basis have pacified themselves with certain topics that they have no longer a fear. And that's a bit of an issue, because fear can be good sometimes because it drives action, and that is exactly what needs to happen. For the majority of people that live in cities, they are going to be faced with the reality one day where they are going to want to themselves get out, because the curtains, even in their own worlds, have been widely ripped open, and that light is shining in. And what that will mean for them is they are going to be trying to escape the city along with everybody else that has woke up to this fact. To give you a little bit of an analogy, in 2018, if you'd have brought and invested in Bitcoin and kept it to this point in time, you could have easily walked away today with nearly double your money. If you'd have just invested a year later, you'd have been, say you invested £10,000, you would have been £4,000 down on that investment. That's what happens when you act too late on the information that you receive. And that's exactly what 98% of the world's population is going to do, for a number of reasons. They're not aware or haven't taken it on board that agricultural land, good agricultural arable land, is going offline quicker than we could say. Farmers are having to shut up shop if they've been directed mandatory by the United Nations, or because they are going bankrupt. This is going to have effect on the the production of food across all ranges. These things are happening, and let's face it, it doesn't matter whether it's food or commodities of any sorts, they've all doubled in the last 12 months in price, and salaries haven't. And then when you add all the other things on to those loads, you realise that the cart wheels are starting to recognise the increased weight is almost impossible to pull. And what I'm talking about there is that what we noticed, one thing that was going to do this, I'm not talking politics or economics, I'm just relaying to you, I understand the problems. When they drove up the price of energy, it drove up the price of everything, and that's what we've seen. And this was the directive that was navigated from the United Nations, who are a bunch of crooks, and also from the European Union. These two organisations are unelected officials that are telling other countries now what to do. It's clear who the bosses are and where their organisations are. But the thing is that we are faced with, like you guys on a daily basis, a non-option. Toe the line or you pay the penalty. And for a lot of us, we just want to keep our heads down and do the best we can. And I've mentioned this many times, and you know what, really, if you do understand the concepts of what I'm talking about, you'll understand that there is no avoidance of something coming shortly with regards to human activity. And that is those three things that I mentioned: technological advancement, taking jobs. Ever increasing population means that more people are looking for work so that they can exchange that work for money, or labour for money. And there is a third, which completely evades me at the moment. So we've got technological advancement, which is removing the jobs, which stops people getting jobs. We've got an increase in population, which doesn't make the matter any better. And we've got this capital system, which is, destined to collapse at some point. It no longer, let's face it, it no longer serves us. The idea where you work hard, you're entitled to more things than others that don't work as hard as you. You know what? You're working hard and you're getting half as much for what you work for right now. And they managed to take this off you in just 12 months. So let's get down to it. If you live in a city, you might want to consider getting out of there ahead of others. That can save you a lot of money, a lot of heartache at that point in time, when you realise a bit further down, if you don't take action today, if you realise down the road you're just going to be in the wasp nest with everybody else, you have an opportunity to do something about it now. And then there's the other thing, we are going to see some dramatic changes. This Earth is going through a magnetic reversal, and right now it is likely that we are at 25% reduction in that in the magnetosphere strength that protects us. This is going to affect everything across every range you could imagine. Right now, if you go out there and expose yourself at the point where the sun is at its highest meridian in the daytime, you are 25% more likely to get skin cancers, at the least. And if you are susceptible to heart problems, then the risk of cardiac arrhythmias is also increased by 25%. If you're cabin crew and you're working on airlines right now, you do a hazardous job every single day. The pilots, the cabin crew, they're at an altitude where they are exposed to more radiation than anybody else. If those airline companies cared about the staff, they would be closely monitoring right now how much radiation dosage they're experiencing. Because on average, 25 years ago, that one trip on an aircraft for anybody would be the same as having an X-ray. And these people are exposing themselves to that every day without any protection. Now, even the radiographer will wear, a limited amount of lead-lined suit when they take the X-rays. And these cabin staff are wearing nothing at all. Unbelievable, given the fact that we understand, these dangers at this point in time, in this day and age. So, if you're a pilot, if you're cabin staff, maybe you want to consider what I'm talking about, because now is probably a good time, more than ever, to hang up that hat and get another job or another career, because the benefits are being massively outweighed by some of the other effects that are not very desirable, let's put it that way. Okay, I think this video has gone on long enough. I just wanted to say, don't pacify yourself with regards to what is taking place at this very moment. You can act. If your kids are outside in the sun, get some sunblock on them. At the very least, get some sunblock on them. Don't let them out at the hottest point of the day where the sun is at its highest point. Don't do that. There are things that we can't protect ourselves against, like, muons, cosmic rays, because they zip through, 2 feet of concrete, no problem at all. Some muons have the kinetic energy to travel straight through this earth and out the other end. Can't do nothing about those. But if you're aware of some of these issues, you can do something about it. Now, we don't know what's going to happen in the next few months. And Robert, by the way, asked me to mention, and I think it is well worth doing that. I will put a better video together for you guys so that you can understand this 40-degree mark that we're talking about, and that we will, I guarantee you, pass or meet that mark in a couple of days when we whip the SD cards out. I've got a good feeling we're already there as we speak right now, but we'll confirm that with the data that we collect from the TriMag. Now, Robert said, you know, it's very important that you mentioned to the viewers, and I agree with him, that, you know, during those experiments that the scientists were taking with the lava flows down the volcanoes that were erupting during the last magnetic reversal that we had, they noted that the reversal took place and was accepted between 40 and 45 degrees. Bear that in mind, okay? That was what they said. We've been talking about this for 3 years. This position that we're about to pass or meet in the next few days was predicted a couple of years ago, nearly 3 years ago, and almost the date was accurate, other than what happened with a couple of months ago where, you know, the poles behaved completely unusual for the first time, bear that in mind, in 120 years. We got it down to almost the month, a little bit late. Some people criticised us for it. Can you believe that? You know, this is what science is all about. You use equipment to make measurements because equipment, electronics, does things better than human beings. To give you an idea, every 3 seconds we take a reading of the magnetic North Pole, and we calculate that at the end of the month, or as we're doing now, twice a month for you guys. This is the only observatory doing that for you. So, bear that in mind. Between 40 and 45 degrees was what was noted during the last magnetic reversal based on the core samples that those scientists did on that volcanic lava flow. Make note that right now you are 25% more exposed to radiation, not just from the sun, but also out of our solar system, coming from our galaxy and out of our galaxy as well. 25% more exposure. That's a lot. And as we speak right now, little by tiny little bit, our magnetosphere is weakening and that exposure rate is going to increase. And if we are right, then we will reach a point where things dramatically accelerate. And that means when that happens, our poles on our planet will begin that transverse from north to south, and at the same time the magnetosphere will weaken considerably more than that, and at that point in time you do not want to be out there exposed to that solar radiation. Trust me on that. We got our work cut out. 98% of the world's population don't even know about the magnetic poles reversing, and 98% of them have not been informed of possibly getting ahead of a few others. So right now you're very lucky people. You're one of 2%. Let's try and get a few more people than we usually do chipping into this observatory. You know, it takes a little bit of motivation from you guys, you know, to reach up to the keyboard and actually type in a few of your details. We know about what's going on. It would be selfish if we didn't share the information with others. And if you can't physically do it yourself, then please help somebody that is trying to help others. There's nothing else to say other than what is usually said at this point in the video. Guys, the link down there in the video description, and you take care of your loved ones as best you can. That's what I usually do. Bye for now.